Bleeding of the Strokes, a short story, by the writer, Magdi Abdelnabi. 1. The limbs of the earth shook. Shook violently. All the lists and body parts were scattered. 2. We needed a shake. The earthquake broke the silence. I looked at the faces, the clenched mouths secreting the letters of the exponent. A word lodged in my skull, waking up all the heat of the day. Earthquake. 2 silent eyes. I wish you had seen the October hours with me. 3. Behind the curtains of silence we wait, we monitor every second, heads lie in the trenches, we bury scorching hours during the day, cold at night, embrace the gun barrel, we sit under our helmets, ignite the sharpening of the sight that observes the other side, under a captive breath, we beg for talk about the bravery of a knight who detonated the virginity of silence, with a few bullets, raging in the belly of the armory, inside the raging heart. I lay on the hill, adjacent to a watchtower. My boss warned me. Told me to put on my helmet. All the ports of my skull were closed. Words escaped from them. Flee through the night in silence, sneaking to the top. Still ready to shoot. Silence cleaves a skull over the east bank. I tore a helmet from over dust and dirt. I paved an abyss for tribes of worms nesting in the cave stained with stigmatized blood. The whistle of a bullet pierced the violent silence over the lungs of the night. The arteries of the heart. The comrades of the trenches and the dams breathe. They dance for joy. The chief of soldiers rushes towards me. Prone. I close my left eye half blindly. I look at the gun tip that piles up on the barrel, without sleeping. Stop. My boss yells at me. I look in his happy eyes at my assassination of the foolish silence, the buzzing of a silent heart in arrest. A bullet escapes after days. Another turn is assassinated. The helmet splits in two and collapses from the top of the earthen berm. The heart rejoices in the chest. My boss warns me sharply. We are not a sniper squad. He kept me meters away from the bank line, from the body of the canal and its dead waves. These are orders. He was sad when he recited it to my ear. His eyes hugged me. He patted my shoulder alone. The chest was filled with boldness. It melted at the threshold of night. The bitterness of the hours of glare and sticky sweat bleeds. Embers in the jacket, my head and under my armpits. My back hurts when the month of Toba begins. I feel rheumatic pains, piercing the bone adjacent to the muscle, the ligaments. In the dark it gets colder, the night piles up on the wall of frost. Far. The vision of the opposite bank has shifted. The number of headlands buried above the moving berms during the day in armored vehicles. It appears as a small grain of sand, 2 sharply blazing eyes await it. We have the most skilled weapon shooter in the neighborhood on the holidays. The people of my neighborhood would brag about my injuries and inition, the pump. At the births of Sidi Abi Abbas El-Mursi and Sidi Jaber. They used to bet with the children of other neighborhoods. My tone got louder. I hated bets. The owner of the rickshaw was bargaining with me. I screamed at him. I go to Mohammed Karim Street Akram from France Street. I reach the amusement park at the marina and sometimes towards the Nasser Street Square. At the end of the street I look at the front of my house. It was adjacent to the Concord Cinema. The balcony overlooked the Rex Cinema. I preferred the Concord movies over the Rex, Carmou's, and Majestic films. I still remember the movie The 4 Balls of the engraved on the chest of the cowboy actor in the Plaza Cinema. The hero was quick to shoot and did not miss his shooting. Above the bleeding chest. It was covered in smoke. The smell of gunpowder shook the cinema. The boys screamed, not blinking. Do you win the hero in the medal? One of the comrades says it. Fast are the shots from the orifices of anger. Slow moments of anticipation. I will imprison you for disobeying orders, soldier of Sulla. He shrieks in my face. I'm still lying down. My eyes don't blink over the narrow opening, at the top of the pipe extending through the hands holding the heart of the gun that beats wildly. It is moving towards Suez. I remember the raids of the past months, which were silent, after the rumor of the incoming Russian missile wall. Towards Ismailia, it yawns, and the desert of the lakes Albura and the Crocodile. Spreading its wings. Shading its clear waters. It clears its bitterness. It looks like a witness in my throat. The soldier still had his head dangling between his outstretched arms, shaken by the raging wind. The rhetoric mingled in my ears. How do I catch this mouse? The fog is dense. A sniper from his childhood. I obey the commands of the officer. I return to the call of the comrades in the courtyards of Abu al-Abbas, the sounds of the psalms, the veins are filled with boldness. I empty it into the heart of the carriage. The pump balls explode. They leave smoke and powder that I watch. I savor its scent. It dissipates in my eyes. Why didn't you carry out the orders? Questions pile up, silence builds up. He stands behind the desk. Revolves around me. He pats my shoulders. The brass bands and coins shine on the shoulders and the front of the chest. He faces me with caring eyes. I'm proud of you, but... I crack the sharpness of silence. How long will we falter in the letters of patience? It has become limp in the throats, thirsty for the waters of Suez, Port Fouad and the Crocodile. Smiling. Wait a few days. What do you carry? Good news for you. Half-track vehicles move, and large-sized vehicles carry huge missiles. I touch them and write my name on them after the basmala. Russian missiles will completely limit enemy raids. Able to move in camouflage. Dropping planes over my head. The brigade points at the center of the line. Salah el-Din is the most efficient. The first Israeli plane will be his share. We decorate its wrecked wreckage. Everyone patted the shoulders in rejoicing. The heart has been smiling for years. I climb over the carriage. I adjust the angles of the festivities. Everyone panics. I wait in the glow of the sun humming across the horizon. The soldiers had been all the scorching hours, buried their heads in pits and trenches, waiting in a thick hum that cracked a parched heart, the thick smoke that filled the sky over the past months. My rifle shot heads at dawn, it cured the cold of the day and the cold of the night. Gloom settles in his veins. Shards of anger are scattered from the pupils. Violent vibrations snatch away all the rage, repairing the wall of the heart. They patted the shoulders of the men of Ismailia, Port Said and Suez. We despise ourselves. The masses of smoke that mark our hideouts. The soldiers pull me in. I fall on the arms of the brute. Your hums will not pierce our ears, said one of the soldiers as he pointed to the sky. Waiting for enemy planes. We will listen to the sound of shrapnel and the impact, said another as he pointed at me. I was in a ready position on the chariot. Adjusting the angles of attack. Aimed at a sharp angle. The burning hours pass. I take off my jacket. Wipe my palms from the sweat. Everyone is on alert, waiting for the first test of the blocker wall of Russian missiles. Do enemy planes really shoot down? Doubt seeps through the pores of a stagnant heart. Another screams. The raids will deafen our ears. Tighten your tricks, beast. Sniper heads. Will destroy their raids. On the horizon, the sizzling pierces the sky. Everyone lies down. The forearms are tightened above the circle of tension. An explosion. 4. Feverish shots in my fingers, smoke oozes from the tails of invading planes. Every day, this scene is repeated. It seems boring. Some are betting on the crash of the plane after the 6th shot. The other confirms that the total 10, and everyone confirms that they are 73 within 6 days. I pray for Russia. I pray for Abu Salah and his ilk throughout the channel. Do they continue to push the victims out of their planes? I heard about the Bar al-Bakr attack and the Abu Zabal massacre. This is despair. When do we cross the East Bank? We trample it with our feet. After the initiative is announced. What initiative? He burst out laughing. News was creeping in about the presence of an American diplomat visiting the region in order to find a way out of the impasse. Did he stop shooting? No way. Sulla screams from his iron seat. On my body. Orders issued. How long? 3 months. Strays, indulges in silence, looks at the scorching sky, comes back. To wait, and to look as far as my eyes could see from behind the glasses of the field. He pressed violently this time. The planes were flying after several shots. The soldiers shouted. He strayed at night. The words of the day woke him up. Around the red-faced man from cowboy country, does wear and tear throw into the chest of the soldiers of the West Bank. Delving into these thoughts kills him. Rips his senses. Wings plucked from the heart of the plane float on the surface of the canal. The current swept it towards the shore. Will the enemy ever cross the Shadana? He set foot on the cities of Suez and catch fish in Lake Timsa. He plays with a fishing boat in Port Said and Port Fawad. He crosses towards the Kassassin, as the British did. After that, when Khedive Tawfik died. Nobody will set foot on our land. Shriek. We will not agree to treaties with enemies. We will exterminate them, throw them into the dungeon, in the wilderness. 5. Sadness covers the face of Sulla and the rest of the men. The brigade commander shouted at the soldiers. We have to carry out orders. Don't you yearn for Sinai's money? I brought a bunch of them days ago. You were not a lieutenant in the Contella and a pioneer on Pharaoh's Island. Have you seen the citadel of Sulla el-Din? Soldier Sulla shouted. It's mine alone. Still, darkness and silence fell over the commander's face. He listened to the soldier's anger absorbing him. Roger's initiative, we must respect it. Sulla shouted. Cursed be all initiatives that stigmatize our hands with shame and disgrace, even if we regain our land. Shouted another. They will not leave us no matter how long it takes, and they delude us into returning the stolen rights. Some called. We are all with you, Sulla, and against Yaring and Rogers. We are all with Saladin. Strike their raids. Tear their planes to pieces from embers. The fire extinguishes the boiling water of the canal. The man raised his hand. He ordered them to leave after he shouted at them. Don't break orders. 6. Sulla felt bitterness in his throat. They said from his molar that the might had infiltrated. The days began to pass monotonously. The day slipped from the sounds of buzzing and explosions. The water of the canal stagnated, waiting for it to be extinguished. Overheated zero, the sands of Al-Shatout were covered with despondency and the sticky sweat of men. The wall of the anti-tank missiles. He said it violently. He kicked the track tires. He buried his face in his palm from the frantic sun he had felt so hot since the shooting stopped. Nobody will care about us. The guns will get rusty. The night beat the sticky hours of the day. Boredom died at the sands. The rushes. The breath of the wind was kicking my ears. I began to hear things that I had not paid attention to before. He grabbed the cup of tea. The other side. The muddy night wrapped him in blackness and silence. He fell into the clutches of waiting. He hung his eyes over the east bank. It was dark and spoiled her view. He leaned against the window and emptied the contents of his rifle. He threw it beside him. He counted the bullets that silence had killed.